Hi everyone, and welcome back to 52 Factorial Card Tricks. Got something a little bit different today. Rather than doing a card trick, I'm going to go through the basic rules and hand strengths of Texas Hold'em poker. This was one of the first card games I ever learned to play. It's very fun, anyone can learn it very quickly, and you can play with your friends either for real money if you're over 18, or for play money or poker chips in a set that you can buy most places. So basically, basic rules state that 2 to 10 players can take part in a game of Texas Hold'em, but you can choose the amount of players you want depending on how many friends you've got round at the same time and how many you want to play. So what will happen is there's a dealer button in each set usually, which will go clockwise around the table with each player, and then before each round you'll have the small blinds and the big blinds, where each player will ante up some money. Usually the minimum bet is the big blind, half of that is the small blind, and that will also oscillate clockwise with each hand. So at the beginning of each hand, the dealer will deal out 2 cards to each player, so to each player, and then when it comes around to your go, they'll deal you 2 random cards. Now these are the only cards in the game that you can see at first. So let's say in this hand's case you've been dealt a 4 of clubs and a 2 of diamonds, so not a matching suit, so not the best hand to start with. And then you can put your cards back down and you will go around the table, and each player can decide if they want to take part in that hand or not. If they don't wish to take part in that hand, then they can fold, which means they throw their cards away and they can wait until the next hand. They can check, which means they want to stay in the hand but they don't want to bet any money at the moment, or they can call the big blind, or they can even raise the big blind, in which case it'll go round again and every player will either have to match that bet or fold. So once every player has been round one time with the betting, the dealer will deal down what we call the flop cards, and you can either deal them down face up or face down and then turn them over. So as we know, we've got our 4 and 2 here, so not really much we can do there at the moment. And again, there'll be another round of betting, and anyone can check if they want to stay in but don't want to bet any money. They can fold if they decide that the flop's not showing the cards they wanted. For example, here I'd probably fold if this was my hand. Or they can raise, and then whoever wants to stay in the hand will either have to call that, or they can fold as well. So once that round of betting is done, you'll move on to the turn card. As you can see, there is the 9 of hearts. So again, there wouldn't be much point us staying in this hand really now. The best we can really do is a pair, so we're not going to really have much chance in this hand. So you go around again, and once that betting's done, the dealer will turn over the river card, which is an ace. High card ace is the best we've got there. No pairs, no flushes, no anything like that. So the best we can actually do there is a high card ace, and you can pretty much guarantee that someone at the table is going to have a better hand than that. And then once everyone shows their cards who's still in the hand, then the winner is the person with the best hand on that particular turn. And I'll now do a quick show of each hand, and ranging from smallest to largest chance of winning, worst to best. So thanks for watching this introduction, and I'll now do a quick review of all the hand strengths. Thanks very much. Okay, so first what we have is known as the high card, which doesn't really give you much chance of winning anything at all. Basically, as you can see for this example, we've been dealt the ace of spades and the 4 of clubs. We've seen the flop, the turn and the river cards go down, and all we've got is an ace, high ace, no pairs, nothing like that. So chances are we'd have bowed out of this hand by now, but if I was playing, for instance, I'd probably wait until the river, because I've got an ace in pocket cards just in case an ace came up on the river. But high card ace, you've not got much chance of winning. Okay, next hand up will be the pair. Okay, so the next hand up is the pair. We've just dealt another example of a flop, river and turn. This is the card we were dealt in this scenario: Queen of Spades and 9 of Spades suited. It's good that they're suited. That's a pretty good hand to start off with in your pocket cards, but as you can see, once the cards have all gone down here, the best we've got is a pair of queens. So not a really, really bad hand. There is a chance you could still win with that hand, but it's also likely that as well as a queen, another player may have another queen, or they also may have a jack, a 3, a 4, or the ace, in which case they've got 2 pair, or they could potentially have even higher than that. So a pair of cards isn't really a great hand to be going all the way with, especially if someone raises the pot and bets quite a particular amount of chips. So next up is 2 pair. Okay, so the next hand up is the 2 pair. Now, if I was dealt this hand, pocket cards of 2 and 6, I'd probably still stay to see the flop. And in this instance, I've dealt these cards in this example, and you can see that on the flop, I would have got 2 pairs, 2 2s, and 2 6s. Now, I'd probably stick with that and wait for the turn in the river, and I'd probably, as long as there was no massive bets, I'd probably take that to the end, because chances are that with the queen being the river card, a lot of people might have quit before that, because the highest card before that was a 9. So there's not really much value in staying in if you haven't got higher than a 9. If you want to risk waiting for a potential high card on the river, then of course it's your preference. But 2 pairs, not a bad hand. You'd beat pair and a high card obviously, but there are obviously better hands to be dealt, and we'll move on to the next cards up, which is 3 of a kind. Okay everyone, so the next hand strength up is 3 of a kind. Now, if I'd been dealt these as my pocket cards, I'd be very happy. I'd definitely stay in for the flop and probably the turn and see how I got on from there. But as you can see in this scenario, I've dealt myself the jack and queen, and then when the flop was put down, I'd have ended up with a pair of jacks, which is not too bad, but I'd probably stay in and wait until the turn just to see what happens. And as you can see in this scenario on the turn, I got the 3rd jack, so I would then definitely stay in for the end, for the river card, in the hopes of possibly getting a king or a 3 to make it a full house. But 3 of a kind is a very, very good card hand to have, and I'd probably stay in regardless of someone betting, because chances are they're either bluffing, or maybe they have the 4th jack and they've also made 3 of a kind, or there is also a chance that maybe they've got a king and they've made 2 pair of jacks with kings, which is a good hand. Face value card, face cards, they're probably thinking that would be quite a good hand to play all the way to the end with, but 3 of a kind would blow them away and you're going to take the pot. So next card strength up is a straight. Okay, so this is the straight card hand, which if I dealt these cards as pocket cards, I'd probably be happy enough to stay in at least for the flop, because you've got obviously the chance of the straight draw. And when the cards have obviously gone down in this scenario for the on the flop, we've got the 3 and the 4, so now all we're missing is a 5, and we'll have the straight, which is 5 cards in ascending order but not suited, so any suit, but as long as they're in ascending order. So for example, in this scenario you'd have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now if I had made 4 out of the 5 on the flop, then I'd definitely stay for the turn in the river, regardless of the betting, as long as someone didn't go all in, because there is obviously the chance that they're bluffing, but there's also, with a king and a 10 in this particular scenario, there is a chance that they've got high 2 pair and you may not get that 5 you need on the river to make the straight. So it's obviously player's choice, but if I had those 4 cards, I'd probably stay in for the river as long as nobody went all in. So that's a pretty good hand, obviously beats all the hands that have come before this one. So next, moving on, is the flush. Okay, so this next hand strength up is called the flush, and it's 5 cards of the same suit but not in sequential order. So as you can see, pocket cards I've been dealt in this particular scenario. I've got 2 hearts, king and a 9, so I'd probably definitely see the flop with that card, even if it meant betting to the minimum bet rather than checking. So when the flop's gone down, obviously you can see now we've got 4 hearts, so we only need 1 more, so it'd definitely be worth staying for the turn in the river, because these cards, as you can see in this particular scenario, are very low value cards. So chances are within 2 cards, a turn and a river, that a heart comes up. It's not massively probable, but it's worth sticking in for, because a flush is a very good hand. So next up from a flush, we've got a full house. Okay everyone, so this hand strength is the full house, which is 3 of one card and 2 of another. So we're getting towards the top of the hand strengths now. This is a very good hand, very unlikely you'll lose, but in this scenario I've dealt particularly high value cards, including face cards, to see that somebody could still beat you even if you were dealt pocket jacks, which is a very good starter. So for example, in this scenario you can see on the flop there that I've got the 3 of a kind jacks, so I'd probably stay in to the river in the hope of potentially getting a full house. And as you can see in this instance, there was a 10 on the flop, and then on the river we've got another 10, so we've made a full house with jacks full of 10s. So very good hand, but obviously looking at this scenario there is the chance that other people who are playing may have been dealt pocket queens, or they could have been dealt pocket 10s, which means they've got 4 of a kind, very unlikely, but it could happen. Or they could have been dealt pocket kings, in which case they could have queens full of 10s or kings full of 10s, which will beat your jacks full of 10s. So if they're particularly high cards, especially higher than yours, just bear in mind that there is a slim chance that they may still be able to beat you with their hand strength. Okay, next up is 4 of a kind. Okay everyone, so this is for the 4 of a kind hand strength deal. So as you can see in this scenario we've been dealt pocket 2s. It's not too bad, not the best hand, but it's also a pair right at the start, so it's probably worth seeing the flop in the hope of getting 3 of a kind, potentially a full house at the end. But as you can see in this scenario, on the flop we didn't get anything, but I'd probably stick with the pair of 2s in the hope that potentially 1 could come up on the river or the turn. And as you can see, we got very lucky in this particular scenario, because on the turn and the river we got the 2s, so we've ended up with 4 of a kind. So very unlikely that anybody's going to beat that with these cards that are dealt here, because as you can see the 2s are the only pair in the 5 cards that have gone down, so very unlikely that anybody will be able to beat that. So that's a really good hand, and you'd be, if you got the turn and it was 3 of a kind 2, you might as well stay in the hope of either getting a full house or higher. So next card up is straight flush. Okay everyone, so we're getting towards the business end now of the hand strengths, and this is the straight flush draw. So pocket 4 and 2, both clubs, is not too bad to be dealt at the start of a hand. Probably worth, seeing as they're suited, probably worth staying around, because you can still get a potential straight or flush depending what comes down on the flop. And as you can see in this scenario, flop goes down, we've got 2, 3, 4 and 5, so we only need the 6 to make a straight flush. So it'd probably be worth staying in the hand until the end, just in the hope that if it didn't become before the river, that you could get the straight flush, which is a very rare hand. And with these cards going down, some people might think you've got a straight or a flush, but it's very unlikely they'll think you've got a straight flush, because that's very rare that you'd have all 5 suited. You know, someone might have potentially 2 pair with jacks and 6s, so they might go all the way to the end, and then you can blow them out of the water with a straight flush and take the whole pot. Definitely worth staying in for the end for. There's only one hand that'll beat all those hands combined, and that is the royal flush. Okay everyone, for our final hand in this strengths of hands for Texas Hold'em video, we've got the royal flush, which is extraordinarily rare as hen's teeth, and it's very unlikely that you'll actually see one of these coming down in a live game. It's possible, but very unlikely. I've been playing Texas Hold'em for many years and I've never seen a legitimate royal flush dealt down. So as you can see in this scenario, we've been dealt the ace and the jack of diamonds, which is a very good hand to start off with. You've got both high cards, so you've got a potential to make a good 2 pair, or possibly a straight if the right cards come down. And you can see on the flop we made the 10, so we were on for the straight draw. And the fact that you've got 2 high face, one high face card and the ace, which is the highest card, as your pocket cards, you're probably best staying in for the turn and the river. And as you can see on the turn, if I had the king of diamonds come down on the turn, I'd be getting very excited. The odds are obviously very low that the queen of diamonds will come out on the river, but there is obviously that small chance. So obviously it's player's choice. They can choose to stay in if they want, or they can fold depending on how risky they feel it's worth going all the way for. These sort of cards high face value cards are probably going to have people betting and raising on, because your chances are you're going to have someone with a pair of kings or a pair of queens or even three of a kind or a full house, but nothing is going to beat a royal flush. So if you get a royal flush, bet whatever money you can, because nothing's going to beat it. So thanks for watching. That's the Texas Hold'em hand strengths. Hi everyone, so thank you for taking the time to watch this video on all the Texas Hold'em hands and strengths that they can carry. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you find it informative or have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. And if you like this video, please feel free to give a like and subscribe. Also, if you are ever playing poker or any card game that involves money, please gamble responsibly. Thank you, take care.